Welcome back to the show, to the desk. We're sitting down, everyone at the same height, by the way. Good job, everybody.
Love how we're beatboxing like Namir does, like.
Yep, you should hear the harmonies we have during the
notes, and I'm doing like the
Anyway,
higher.
now that is now on cooldown for another 6 minutes. We'll wait until that Summoner Spell comes back up.
Nobody knows what's happened and,
Wait,
in the light show, guys. Believe me, it is something to behold. Something to behold. But something to behold as well, it is MNM versus Dusty. I say this is a game straight up for Dusty's side due to the fact that we've noticed that MNM are not on the most...
They're not on the best trajectory right now. No, and
I would say that way.
So if anyone did miss any of the interviews yesterday, obviously they were quite emotive in terms of the struggles the players going through and maybe their prospects heading through into the next split. So we know this team is probably not firing on all cylinders. That doesn't mean that they can't find some of that regain, that lost form, because we've seen what happens when MNM are on form. They can be one of our top teams in the league. Now, they're not going to be in playoffs. They don't sadly get to show that in the post-split for us, but still, maybe they can dip into that form one last time this split.
So this is most likely like one of the games that doesn't necessarily have any implications because technically Veneer cannot reach third spot, so they're able to choose who they're going to play.
Well, I'm not third, but I mean, you can still have Dusty lose, Veneer wins. So they kind of like change position for...
Dusty goes to fifth one.
You can avoid getting picked for third. That's the big thing.
That's true. I have it in my head that like anyone who's third is going to pick Riddle anyway, so I'm
yeah,
like,
that's you know
not
what?
much implications there.
Oh, actually, you know what? That's very true. Fair point. Likely not that.
I have it locked in that on our first playoffs.
I should really just trust Trouble more.
There you go. And looking into this game,
clairvoyant.
where should we focus in terms of champion select? Where do you guys believe the focus will be in terms of champion select?
I'm leaning towards the Kana versus Noodle.
I was thinking that, yeah.
Because Kana has been, if not the biggest game, the whole MNM machine, definitely the one that's moving the most. And that's not due to just him playing Hecarim. I'm just going to say that much. I feel like in terms of jungle pathing, the way they play the game, Kana and Noodle are very similar in the ways they play the game.
Everything starts from that.
Exactly. Noodle is a little bit more successful when it comes to actual execution. I think it's been a lot of times a question mark with Kana in terms of, you know, the build, some pathing he's taking towards ganking sides where there's no priorities and such. This is where I'm giving the edge to Noodle a little bit more because he knows how to work with even no prior at all in his jungle without losing much.
But I do think that prior is actually going to be really important because we've seen throughout much of this split, actually, these teams have come down to how damn good is your early game? How much of a lead can you get so you can go into harder to execute mid-game drafts? And actually, both these teams have gone towards that. We're seeing M&M continually go towards Vex with a Jarvan, with a Hecarim, with something like that. And that is a difficult combo to pull off. And Dusty on the other side, it's one of the things that we talked about in terms of like LeBlanc in the early split and actually them not quite landing that mid-game. But both these teams' early games, if they're on form, is going to be very, very dangerous to the other team.
So far, it's a focus on the mid lane, as we thought as well. Backlund wants to take away that action. Action has been on Royal Cannon and Vista as well, so you have to remove it.
I'm wondering now if they're going to choose to ban away Ziggs from Michigu, because Royal Cannon has been also seen to play a bunch of AD picks in the mid, and they can possibly choose to go with something like this. The TV is like doing games with us. It's like, so, who did they ban?
We're seeing like half of the champion select right now is the screen in front of us actually just dying. So now, can we use your clairvoyance? Can you tell us what the last ban is going to be?
I'm seeing the B1 Jinx. I don't know what the never mind.
There you go.
There you go. Jinx is the last.
I was thinking
ban.
Zeri was going to be the last.
Zeri is available.
I was about to say, I'm thinking that the most you know, common thing that happens these days is that you ban Zeri and you leave Jinx open because you can be matched by affiliates. Exactly.
And you choose one side of that matchup. Most people choose the Jinx because it's just easier to use. But the Zeri, the thing about Zeri is that you cannot lock low CC compositions into a Zeri because you just lose the game. If you don't lock down the Zeri, she just wins. We saw that. We saw that on Monday with Nuriki in their loss, and that was versus. Remind me who that was against. Actually, I'm trying to remember. Was that Bifrost? Heck. Anyway, it was the Zeri game.
Bifrost for sure playing the Zeri. And
Sure, that was it. Yes, I was trying to remember the exact
Was it
matchup.
Ricky?
Yes, no, I remember that side of it for some reason. Either way, there was a Riven involved, so we don't have that today right now, but we do
Exactly,
have.
Betoshka.
But we were talking about the MNM side of the draft, saying, oh, you know, Counter's been the place where this started, but he's not necessarily been the Xin Zhao player out of these two junglers, because actually, I think of someone like.
Was I saying Noodle all this time? I was
You
thinking,
were, but I know you
thinking
wanted to
Vanir the
say
entire time,
Viking,
but it's
yeah.
the same thing with Viking.
It is.
I was thinking Vanir. I'm sorry. guys.
But
Sorry.
you know, because these two champions, going back to the jungle matchup and stuff, saying like, okay, actually both of them play a lot of the Jarvan, a lot of them both play a lot of the Hecarim. Obviously, the Hecarim is banned away, but without that, you know, Viking has chosen to take the Volibear into the Xin Zhao. It's a slightly better individual matchup, and you can kind of match parity on your strength at level 3.
Now, if you're gonna go with the Nautilus here, my question mark is.
Oh, I thought we escaped that meta. Don't you dare lock in the Corki.
I was about to say, why not go with the Rel? I had a thing last year with NLC. Whenever I was saying Rel, it wasn't a Rel, it was Advian.
Yes.
I wasn't calling the champion, I wasn't calling the actual player that was playing, it was Advian. I think after this split, every Rel that I'm going to be seeing, it's going to be FGG. It's gonna be,
yeah.
it's not going to be Rel or anything else.
What I love about this is that both of the supports have themselves Premier Engaged champions. The Karma has now been flexed to a solo lane, you'd imagine. You can play Karma in the bot lane role, but last time we did see it from MNM, it was in the mid lane. And it wasn't great with the comp that they crafted. They played it around a Hecarim that was going very damage-focused, so the shield actually kind of meant less because you didn't have those resistances to actually build a proper front line. So with Royal Cannon playing alongside the Xin Zhao, it's going to be very important to use that Karma's early push to get Xin Zhao ahead so you can start rolling over the game.
I do not necessarily want to see that Karma going to mid lane. I don't see that.
Would you prefer it top? Where'd you want it at
I
that
would
point?
much prefer it top, knowing that probably Aleph is going to go for something like, you know, his Aatrox and things like. Never mind, he's not because it's banned away.
Not going to go towards his Aatrox.
He's not going to go for his Aatrox because it's banned away. Even if he goes mid, I would like to see a little bit more AP damage from the Karma. I think what Dusty tried to do here is they tried to take Karma away from the bot lane. They lock in the Nautilus because they could think that the Ezreal could go right next to Karma. It's a very oppressing lane, especially into Nautilus in the very early stages of the game. You kind of bully the melee support. So right now they've managed what they wanted. They have taken away the Karma from the bot lane. The Leona is there. Now the question is, who's next to Leona? Because you can go Varus. You have the Aphelios still up on the table. You've got the Caitlyn that hasn't been touched this entire picks and buns.
But what I really like, kind of going back to Dusty's angle on this and taking away high damage top lane.
Baby!
Okay, so we're going to get that. That's going to be very important. We'll touch on that because you're looking at MNM here and you've got the Karma mid again. You're lacking damage. Now, if you don't get to pick a GP, you don't get to pick a Camille on the top side, you're lacking damage from top side and a lot of your Premier picks there too. Something like a Kai'Sa, if you manage to get on top of the Zeri, blap, 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 that's suddenly that carry down.
Reach the backline.
You can actually get on top of the Zeri and kill them. I think when you're playing front to back with something like a Karma, very hard to shut down that Zeri early enough. The Kai'Sa, it's risky, but I can understand the logic.
So what I really like about the Kai'Sa is you can also choose to go full AD, go towards the Kraken Slayer.
You can do the hybrid thing
But you can
too.
do a hybrid thing with something that I personally said, if you have a Karma mid, you're lacking a lot of AP damage, especially if you go with Moonstone. So Kai'Sa can give you back a lot of that AP damage that you're technically lacking. And right here, locking in the you're leaving a little bit of a segue open for something like an Aurelia if Bobista wants to go towards that route.
But that's yes, and then the Silas is coming as well. Now, Silas knows that you know you're likely against the Karma, I think. I don't know if you want to flex the Karma top against the Gnar. I think that mini Gnar is going to do pretty okay with that.
Right.
But either way, you know, you've got a Solar Flare to steal, you've got the Xin Zhao ult to steal, which means you've got a lot of utility in how you want to play the fight in terms of if they're coming into you, you steal that Xin Zhao ult, you become that really annoying front line. On the other side, you have a way to go forward yourself, but you now have a slight way to play side lanes with the setup from the Wukong with the Kai'Sa flying in. I like MNM's comp if they get to play around side lanes. Just wondering if they're going to get a bit bullied out by that Silas eventually.
Okay, screw the side lanes right here, because what I'm seeing is that if that Leona ultimate somehow lands on Zeri, you're going to have Kai'Sa flying in, Wukong flying in, Xin Zhao getting in, and then you're going to have the shields to support the entire dive onto the Zeri. I find this a really good way to try and reach the champion, and now I understand the takeaway on the Nautilus right here, because Nautilus was a big problem from the side of Nuriki versus Bifrost when they were playing Zeri. You put down the ultimate, you can very easily follow through, especially if you have a Kai'Sa on your team. So now I do understand the Nautilus, and it makes much more sense to me. But I do really like what MNM is bringing to the table. Now the question mark, has always been with MNM. Can they actually execute on an all-in draft? Because so far they've played the Hecarim's Vexes pretty effectively towards the start of the split, but it hasn't necessarily worked towards the end.
And it's versus Dusty. It is a good team, locked in and fourth. Who knows what's going to happen in the future? And they're hungry to take this victory to put themselves in a better spot in the standings for the playoffs. So without further ado, for the first time in the day, is for the Costas desk with Initialize alongside with Goldberg.
First time, first game of the last day of the regular split here in the NLC for Spring. I'm joined, of course, by Goldberg. We've got ourselves a very interesting little matchup here. Not a draft either of us were necessarily expecting coming into this game.
I mean, it's the same with the ERL level every time. Like, there's so many champions that will have a lot of prio in, what do you mean, higher quality leagues at times. Like, for example, Rise goes completely unnoticed this time around, something that's not really contested. Aphelios not really a pick here either, going for the Kai'Sa. But for MNM as well, this will be the last game we'll be seeing from them. They cannot qualify for playoffs, and it's just kind of a last chance to just go down with a last dance. We don't know if it's going to be the same roster next split, so it's just all about seeing what the players can do before the season really finishes.
Absolutely. And a reminder, if MNM plays spoiler here, they can really upset Dusty's playoff seeding a little bit, because if they win here, they've locked in fourth. Because if Veneer win their game and tie with them at 11 wins, Dusty will come out ahead due to tiebreaker rules. They've got an even head-to-head, but they do have the better record in the second half of the split, which breaks that tiebreaker in their favor. So Dusty want this win to secure fourth. It gives them a slightly easier matchup coming into the... I can do this. Into the... playoffs. There we go. That's what I was looking for. Took me a second.
I don't want you to look at me. I told you before we started. I'm relying on you on this stuff. I'm here for the in-game.
Dear.
You take the implications for the playoffs.
Not even a minute into the game and I can't remember words. It's a bad start, I'm telling you.
It's okay. It's okay. So let me grab it from there
Please,
and then just
take it
take
away.
it into the game. So what I'm looking at, and I want to start with the mid lane here, is that we have Royal Cannon playing the Karma once again. Last time around, didn't go all too hard. This time around, I feel like this Mantra Karma Shield will do better in a mid-game scenario. But before we head to that point, I want to talk about the early game. I want to talk about the laning phase, because Royal Cannon should be able to grab up the early phase pretty even, getting a lot of priority into the melee matchup that is the Sylas. And I don't really want to see him just stand in mid lane doing nothing. I want to see him join up with Kana. He's playing a Sensao together with the shield, the slows, and the brawling potential you get of that 2v2 in the mid jungle. There's a lot of ways you can go in and counter jungle, move up towards the top side, maybe down towards the bot side. I just want to see them be proactive in the early game with this skirmishing power. On the opposite side, I feel like Viking and Backlund, they can cheese a little bit in the early game with the amount of CC that they have. But Backlund is definitely going to be playing from the back foot, where it's more on Viking to really facilitate the other lanes, and Babista up in the top side, making a favorable trade out of the Gnar into the Wukong matchup.
A crushing blow alongside that Nimbus strike. Pretty nasty stuff early on. Even if you do lack a little bit of the wave control, you could still trade pretty heavily, of course. Wukong's passive gives him the additional armor. So against an AD matchup, you have got some options. FGG, though, finding a nice little early hook in this bot side, getting a decent trade out. Definitely chunks out Dr. Chaos there as well, but moving back to what you were saying, I'm really glad you called out that Royal Cannon and Canna synergy you want to look for, because when MNM were on better footing, when they were still looking like one of the better teams in the league, honestly, earlier on in the split, it was off the back of fantastic playmaking and proactivity from Canna and Royal Cannon. And Royal Cannon with that Karma, as you said, should have the priority, should be able to help support Canna on an aggressive early pick like the Xin Zhao, to see what he can do with it.
Let's have a look at this, because Viking, he actually dodged out on the vision that was placed around him on the Raptors. Now he can either go in, try to look for a counter gank jungle rather here, or they can try and look for a wave set up while the bot lane is being crashed down towards here. But looks like he's just going to move down towards the bot side to get the Crocs, but he did lay out the aggressive vision. His bot lane gets to have intel now in terms of where Canna is going to be, and that will allow the Dusty bot lane to push forward, collapse the wave, potentially go for Romodave GG or just back with Venter.
Yeah, they've got the priority in that bot lane, which means it's a little harder for Canna to get over something like that Scuttle Crab, and you can see Viking skipped out on his Raptors, skipped out on his Krogs, where it's still that full clear for Canna, who's deciding, yeah, that's going to be happening. I'm going to head, take my wolves, and think about it. What's on top side, my days. Flash for flash, never mind talking about jungle pathing. Just about get out alive there.
Babista trying to make the most out of the 1v1 scenario. He knows the jungler is down on the bot side, both junglers really. Because of this, just tries to go in, did not have the E-op. If he did, that would have for sure been a first blood. Over to MNM, Canna now, pathing down towards the bot side. And remember, there's no vision on this side of the lane. It all came out in the opponent's jungle, but it'll be interesting to see if he can get into the bush here.
Managed to hold the wave far enough away that the will be no option to spot Kana going into that bush. You've got to imagine he's there now. GG and Venza in a dangerous position. That will be the Zenith play. Michigu hopping forward with the supercharger. It'll be the flash out of FGG, and I think they'll manage to disengage the turnaround now, starting to come through, but don't think you want to go any further than this. It'll be the flash out, but nothing more gained by MNM after that early little lane gank.
Kana decides to stick around, wants to crash the bot side, so the MNM bot lane can go for a recall themselves in the mid lane. It's just a matchup we talked about. Karma just gets a lot of priority in the early game, but so far we've not been able to see them move around here. Royal Cannon hasn't really been part of a play yet. It's been all about pushing the mid wave in, and I don't think he's going to do much in this crash either. I think he's just going to be recalling, potentially TPing back himself. So still room to work around with on the side of MNM. But the side of Dusty, they're coming through with their first reset on that jungler too. He is spotted on the wall, so the lanes know what they're working with.
Viking, who of course was spotted as you said, but what he was doing was, because of the play in the bot side, he did get those double scuttle crabs, he did get to steal away the respawn Krugs that will of course be at that higher level, more experience, etc. coming through for Viking, and he's still got a lot of his camps on the bot side to clear up.
And now it's time to move together as MNM, because you know that the Volibear started topside, you know he's going to be pathing down once he's cleared the camps of Gromp and Wolf. And when that happens, I kind of want to see Kana and Royal Cannon, potentially even Dr. Chaos, move in, try and see if they can counter jungle the Raptors on respawn, try to see if they can force a skirmish out of nowhere, or just take away some of the neutral gold that lays open on the map.
Make use of your knowledge of the jungle path, and you know where that jungle is going to be if you're tracking it, and you've got the info to do it. Instead, Kana's thinking about coming down to punish this bot side instead. Gonna see whether they can get onto FGG. As Babist is ganked in the top side. Thundering Smash secures first blood. Kana having to flash out. They'll get FGG, but Venta goes forward in the burst fire. Secures the jungle. It's now a 1v2 for the Zeri, who I'm not sure is gonna be able to escape. Spark Surge away. Stunned under tower. Goes down 2 for 1 for MNM in the bot end. And someone else died somewhere else as well. Kana.
2 for 1 special. Yeah, what? Wait. Yeah.
Kana died, of course. Sorry, I got a bit confused.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. So we get to have a crash in here. We get to see Venza lose to the entirety of this wave. Royal Cannon gets to push in, gets to go for a recall himself now. No, actually decided to hover around, but great job of Viking, really, because it's going to be difficult to him to have influence on the bot side. He knows he's at a little bit of a disadvantage.
Ooh, lots of damage. Kingslayer's coming through, and it's a regicide in the mid lane. Royal Cannon falls down, the crown goes to Dusty's mid laner.
Let's have a look at the bot side. Lots of action in the early game. Lots of damage taken by Kana as well. No one's really blocking the Seri auto attacks. Remember that, she doesn't really go through champions unless it's amplified by the E, which is why Michiku can step forward here as well. And I genuinely did not expect Backlund to get that outplay in the mid lane. It was actually incredibly well played from the Swedish mid laner and completely catching Royal Cannon off guard.
He just goes down. That's the early kills going in favor of Dusty.
Is he Norwegian? I can't remember if he's Swedish or Norwegian. I've really screwed up there.
I think he's Swedish.
Okay,
hold on that. Someone's
I know Royal Cannon is. Oh no.
They're the same. So it should be, oh gosh.
We're all Scandinavians, right?
Yeah, okay. You know, you can say that. I'll get in trouble, so I'm going to stop. Anyway, Kana is back towards the bot side. He's just continuing the pressure on him. They want to get Michigu's Kai'Sa rolling. Currently standing at this will be his 4th professional game of Kai'Sa across his career, as far as I can tell from stats. And never mind that. Aleph about to go mega. Can try and get onto Babista, who has got the Warrior Trickster to get himself out of dodge. And Viking at level 6 with the Stormbringer can start playing old school Ohnrecker on the turret. So yes, you've got Cyclone, but I don't think you win the War of Inclement Weather with the ultimates being popped.
Yeah, and Cannon will have to path up towards the top side. If he doesn't, well, his top laner is not going to be able to farm up the waves. You can see the rest of them, they're moving up there now. And with that, just normal resets again. But I think Viking is just going to be allowed to walk down towards its boss side, clear up his camps, and no one's really going to be in a position to attack. So MNM, they're playing quite standard. I'm worried, though, because of this lack of productivity, that they're not going to get much done once we come hit that mid game. But remember, they still have an incredible dive composition. You can dive in with Leona, you dive in with the Kai'Sa, Kana, Babista. Royal Cannon's really the only one stepping backwards, just being able to facilitate the fights with the shielding.
They can see the aggression, because yes, the proactivity from the mid-jungle hasn't necessarily been there from MNM, but Kana has been down towards the bot side quite a lot. That's where they've just hard-focused the attention they have. It's come at a cost, don't get me wrong. Big lead for Volibear, interestingly, in the jungle in terms of the CS, which is unusual for a champion like that, but instead we're going to see some attempted play towards the mid lane. Kana's around, so this would be a 2v2, rooted in place with the renewal. The Crescent Guard comes out. It'll force a flash away from Bergland as Babista's around Cyclone and Mishigu and Dr. Chaos. The whole of MNM actually here debating going for a little bit more, but the collapse won't come to anything more. Dusty get out with only the flash being popped from Backland.
No, but that's again what you can see from MNM. Like, imagine if you do this if you want to invade jungle camps. Imagine if you do this if you move this priority up to Rift Herald. Like, I feel like they have so many tools in the early game that they're not actually utilizing. So Dusty, they get to chill a little bit. Viking, he gets to clear his bot side camps, gets to go for a return gank, and all of a sudden, Canna, he's gonna have to play Bandage, or Royal Cannon might just die here. Yeah, you have to flash.
He does, and that's unfortunate. But Viking again proving why he's become one of the most consistent junglers in the NLC here in Division 1. He and FGG have been so good for Dusty when it comes to making plays around the map, as we're going to see the reset from Babista towards the top side. He's doing just fine, and MNM are okay in this game. You know, it's a relatively even game, about 1,000 gold down, so yes, Dusty have managed to get the early advantage. They're going to get this early Herald and trade for the Drake, but it's still playable. They've still got options, but I am aware that Dusty has been cleaner in the mid-game, bluntly.
Yeah, potentially. Now they are moving up towards the Herald. They don't have the move advantage in terms of men. Dr. Chaos is up here. Vents is still down towards the bot side. No Mega Gnar available. They'll have half just timed out.
That's a good hook. Can they get anything more out of it? Solar Flare coming down as well. Rolkan at the back end trying to get as much out of this as he can. One down in terms of Canna right now for MNM. The Ignite will not quite kill off Backland. Make it two as Aleph keeps stepping forward. They will get the kill as Mishigu comes in. FGG having to flash away, but the Void Seeker hits. Void, the Assault coming through, the Killer Instinct, I apologize, from Mishigu will allow him to secure another double for Mishigu now at 3-0-1. Will he have the Supercharger into range? He will. The Acathian Rain comes down, but a shield from FGG will eye a little bit more time. One final Plasma Stack would do it! Gets another a Rampage for Mishigu.
Unfortunate hook there, the last one from FGG, but still, they get to have plates down towards the bot side. They pick up the Rift Herald from the side of Dusty, and they force out the TP from Babista.
Comes at the price,
will
though.
come through from the others as well. But yeah, I mean, I'm actually surprised that MNM decided to put the Kai'Sa down towards bot side again, because they had the initial first move. He could have been able to join the fight beforehand and force Dusty into a very tricky situation where they would have started the fight in a 4 versus 3 situation from the get-go. Because he joins the fight out late, Dusty is able to trade out so many kills. And from the side of Dusty, it's a good initial play, but MNM, they just have the man advantage to facilitate the winning team fight afterwards.
Well, Kai'Sa rocking the KDA skin certainly wants some more in this game. 4-0-1 right now, full kill participation for the bot laner. You index into making Kai'Sa your main source of damage, getting her to a first item alongside the Dirk, getting her to early kills is a massive deal if you want to be able to blow up people like Venza, like Backland, which will be critical for MNM if they want to take this win. Still a gold lead to Dusty right now. Of course, they've got the Herald gold, they can still look to expand it, but MNM do have a win condition who's at least managed to pick up some early gold.
And that's what feels great, but you need to keep that carry safe, because one depth charge and Mishigu might just be knocked off. Kana down towards the bot side again. I like this from him. He's very tricky about the vision control, never really coming from the river, and Dusty has built up a slow push for themselves. They'll need to face check this, and great presence of mind for Venza, spotting out Cancer with a W.
They're becoming wise to the lane ganking attempts from Kana. Still, it will force FGG and Venza to back off a little bit. Ultra Shock Laser coming out, which will slow the Xin Zhao down a touch. He will lose some plates, lose some tower pressure here. Actually, with that Void Seeker hitting, maybe you could think about going a little bit, but the Killer Instinct not pulled, and they will just move back to taking a few more plates. Topside, though, turret did go down.
Yeah, and they need to commit to a play, because second charge is going to come through on the top side as well. Viking could just stay around here if he wanted to. He actually recalled, but I feel like with the low positioning from Dusty, they could have forced on it. They now engage.
Rain gonna come straight through. Shield comes out, they just get the kill. Great dive. Depth charge won't quite get them locked on the tower. Here comes Viking on the reset. Slow will come down with the chilling smite. He'll get the shut down as well. With the 5 kills down, that's a fair amount of gold going over to the volley bear. He'll storm, bring her over the wall, and lightning will strike twice here, surely for a double kill for Viking.
And just like that, Viking came through with the early recall, knew the bot dive was going to come through. Because of that, is able to pick up the kills for himself afterwards, and therefore they get a top turret for themselves. All plates, first turret before 14 minutes. And down towards the bot side, well, the MNM doesn't really get through what they wanted.
A little bit of prescience there. He doesn't stay to go for the second charge top side. Instead, he recalls to stop the pressure from bot. Viking, great game sense there, playing very well in this early game with the proactivity he has. We'll see the replay here, because kind of a fun little dive attempt.
Yeah, Venza got very, very aggressive there, dashing forward while FGG's on the other side of the wall. And yeah, I actually think he could have taken the 2v2, but they were just a little bit uncoordinated. Viking comes through with the chem tank, Smite, movement speed, good enough with the E to come through with the slow. And FGG, I mean, the hooks is not his friend today. The walls are really screwing him up. Look at this.
Oh, shit, like he's doing just fine. Like,
Yeah.
again, it's not quite the Rel performance, and it's still like he's still not doing too bad. I agree.
Listen, those hook, sometimes the hitbox favors you in terms of just bending it out of range. Sometimes it shoots you in the foot by hitting a wall like that.
Absolutely, you're getting dragged down by the anchor there a little bit, but all the same, MNM a little bit frustrated by that, I'm sure, but Mishigu did get the kill at least. He's still pretty strong, but this Volley Bear off to a very strong early start. You're seeing the gold come over, and while you're seeing some proactivity from MNM, they're not far behind in terms of the kills. The gold lead is going to continue getting larger. Just look at the discrepancy right now, 3,500.
And there's still much more to come. They still have the potential for a second Rift Herald later on as well. With the lead they have in topside, you can push that in fairly deep, but it's not about the topside right now. It is about this Infernal Drake. And currently Dusty, they are contesting the Vision. You can see MNM, they're trying to scatter together, stay in group, but Michigu's actually the one out of position.
A little bit, but on the other side, maybe they can turn
Oh,
it
the
around.
Meganar!
Meganar into a wall! No, MNM, not like this! Crescent Guard comes out, but they've already lost the top lane. There's no Cyclone to come through. They were well aware. They read the Met reports, and instead they'll turn it around. Over the wall goes Venza, surfing his way around, and lightning crackles for another kill for that one as MNM trying to escape. Roll Cannon dodging away desperately, flashing over the wall, playing a bit tricksy, gets the root, but he's still playing into Viking, who's so damn strong, so damn tanky. Not enough damage. It's 2 kills to Dusty. They'll pull away and get the dragon, as well as actually Dr. Chaos fell as well to make that 3 kills. And a big win for Dusty in that fight.
Great Mechanar from Aleb that's really showed up, proving that the resources given to him in the early game was paid off. But at the same time, MNM so damn split. You had your carry, your player to play for, stuck on the bot side without being able to join it. And then walking into a chokehold like this against the Mechanar, it's just free for Dusty to win the team fight at this point. The setup is great, the vision control is theirs. And just like that, MNM, they're getting wiped at the Drake.
They get wiped, and it was some good early moves from MNM. You saw there was some proactivity, but it's been a problem over the last few weeks. They've not been coordinated around these mid-game fights. They've not been consistent in the communications, and it has been a problem, but they're going to turn back to it. It wasn't taken down. Backland's going to come in, but yes, they'll take the dragon, but they're going to lose their lives for it. Stolen, hijacked Crescent Guard will help Backland get another kill, and 2 die for the price of taking the Drake.
Yeah, and Rift Herald is up as well, so with a 6k gold lead, 16 minutes into the game, Dusty, they can look to even exponentially grow their lead further as well. Resets will have to come through, but even down on the bot side, you can see it. Backland, Viking, they're scattered at the Grump, ready for Babista to come around. And even if they don't get the kill here, they can still get the turret, but they're looking.
Gonna try and get onto Babista. Where is the rest of MNN? Just nowhere near. He gets a Cyclone to 5. Spectacles get chunked to hell, and he goes down in the bot lane. They'll get the tower as well. And MNM falling apart here in the mid game.
I mean, it had to come down to that 2v2 of the mid and jungle where they had to get stuff done in the early game to really grow that gold lead that they have, especially since they had Michigan to play around. But when it came to the objective setups, 2 times in a row, MNM's just too greedy for this Drake. They don't have the priority around it. It's so easy for Dusty to walk in there. And just like that, yes, you get the Drake, but you lose so much tempo on the map, you lose so much gold, and you're just giving Dusty so much to play around with.
More like 7,000 gold now at 17 minutes.
Hey, objective bounty's alive. Let's get it.
Yeah,
Let's see what you can get, MNM.
Oh, I mean, reminder, MNM have not won a game since the 31st of January. It's getting closer to 2 months than 1 at this point. It is a 10-loss streak. This would make it 11 losses in a row if they fall down here. It has been an unfortunate collapse. This season has gone on.
Look at the gold. I mean, Alep has almost doubled Babista's gold. Like, obviously, we're talking with a few 2,000 blocking it, but I mean, that is completely
It's 3,000 in the
mental
jungle as well. It's a big lead in mid.
And it's also, you know, it's a whole break as well. He's going to be chilling on the side lanes. Doesn't really need his teammates to come around. If a team fight is available, well, yes, he'll go for it. But Dusty right now, they just have so many cannons, so much firepower really to attack. And for MNM, it's a difficult situation now because now they're really relying on finding a pig, create these pockets of vision. We talked about it. They have a dive composition, but who are you diving? Even if you get Seri taken down, she's not your current problem on Dusty. the Naris, the Volibearers, Backlund on Silas's. I mean, it's a tough situation.
Don't get me wrong, Mishigu, his burst damage with this build, super high. But he's not a consistent AD carry. He's not a Jinx, he's not the Felios where you can sort of say, actually, I can 1v5 front to back a team fight. That's not how this works. You want to back to front, effectively. You want to get your backline onto their backline and delete them best you can, but yes, you can blow someone up, as you said, but I just don't know whether they can do anything more with it.
Look at the rotations now.
Yeah.
Elif's coming in from the bot side, Backlund from the top side. They have Rift Hell to play around with. They want to take down this turret. And in a 5 versus 5 scenario, I mean, can MNM even do it? No, they kind of have to forfeit the objective yet again.
2 minutes until the next dragon, which would be a soul point, but Cloud Soul right now with this comp, yeah, you've got a Kai'Sa who probably quite enjoys it. Honestly, you could get some use out of it, but I just don't even know if that's going to be a win condition. I don't even know if you can get to the dragon. It is a thin, small hope at best right now.
It is, it's difficult. I'm trying to find ways to really put it into a different perspective of what it really is, but MNM, they're not going to be able to find anything on an objective. Bobista?
Well, there's the perspective. You can see it on screen. He has to burn his ultimate. Alif just walks and autos him down to a 3rd HP. There you go. There's your description of the game.
Yeah, I mean, it's a sinking ship. There's so many holes right now. Water keeps piling in, and you just don't have enough buckets or any planks to seal up the holes you have currently. Bandage duty is kind of needed on every lane except the AD carry, of course. So it's a rough situation. And going into the soul point of view, I mean, I don't even think Dusty will need a soul as a win condition. But then what we're really waiting for is just for them to feel comfortable, knowing they have the items to facilitate a Baron take and then just start it up, make a turn, get the fight, get the Baron, and start closing out the game. And for MNM, I mean, you're literally hoping for a little bit of a miracle because, I mean, you need to find these picks. You need to find a shutdown on some of the members.
Well, Backlund might be looking for a different kind of soul. Never mind Dragon Souls. He's got a Magi Soul Stealer in inventory. Picked that up a couple minutes ago. Got 9 stacks on that already. And instead of stacking those dragons, he might just stack the kills, get those numbers rolling up. And you know what kind of game it is when it's a second item. Magi's on your Silas.
It's a great story as well for Dusty in terms of how they started out the split and how they're looking now moving into playoffs, because I don't actually think we've seen the entirety of the roster be as good as they currently are.
Not at all. Yeah, I completely agree. As Alif might be collapsed. Remember, Mishigu can chase him very deep. There's nowhere near a Meganos, so Alif might fall. Of course, he has the hull breaker, but there's Cannon across the wall. The slow comes through, wind becomes lightning, and a shutdown goes into the pocket of Mishigu, continuing to try and stack gold onto the win condition you do have.
That is the great pickup there for MNM. You can see the rest of the members of Dusty was actually on a reset timer getting ready for Drake, and Alif was quite frankly just overstepping. So great pickup from MNM. They don't lose all too much on the other side of the map. Usually if you would have shown with 4 members, you would have been sure to lose the tower, but they did it on a reset timer. Because of that, they only lose to Drake, which inevitably, they probably have lost anyway.
And once again, we managed to cast a curse, people. The moment we say it, never seen Dusty playing this cohesively well as a team. Alif overextended Dusty.
I think the main point of it still stands, though, because as a roster, we've seen multiple people step up now, where it's not just about Venser, which we very much talked about in the beginning, and they're so incohesive as well. Like, they had good early game macros, but they will always manage to throw it once we come to that mid game. This time around, though, multiple members are stepping up, and they are looking scarier moving into playoffs, which is exactly what you want to see if you are a Dusty fan.
Absolutely. And before I think I continue to wax lyrical a little bit about Dusty with you, I will call out that is the Nash's 2 second, alongside of course that Dirk early item for the Kai'Sa. So going for that hybrid build that has become one of the options for the Kai'Sa, who's always had a fair variety of builds, much like something like the Ezreal, but that is the option right now. Dusty, I think for the likes of Backlund, of Alif, who were in a link assist towards the beginning of split, the fact that we're seeing Backlund back towards these kind of brawling assassin type carries is great for this team, because he's looked so much better on them as a fight breaks out in mid lane. Never mind that, FGG taken pretty low. I shouldn't be encouraging them. Bit of a brawl occurring. FGG's gone down. Hook not the best there. Solar Flare coming through, of course, stolen away. The AP makes a lot of damage. Canna gonna get chunked up, trying his best to stay alive, but now with the lightning crash available for Venter, he goes in, but gets chunked out pretty heavily by the Cyclone. It is the Void Seeker tanked up by the Clone. Gonna be a little less available right now. So MNM get away with a 1-for-1, but it's Dusty that feel okay about this. But Alif is gonna potentially get chased down. A lot of speed ups here. Maybe they can keep chasing.
I mean, they might be careful. They need to not overchase this one. The turnaround could come through, but Dusty in that instance, they are just way too aggressive. That was just 3 members, Venser, FGG, Viking, just stepping up 3 versus 5. They had side lanes to collapse. They went for that play way too early, and MNM, they punished with a 1-for-1 trade, which when you're behind, you take that.
Absolutely, you do. And literally, I started praising Dusty, and they mess up the play mid. We say, you break
I guess old habits die hard. We literally just said, well, they sometimes just throw it a little bit in the mid game, and we've not seen that all too often from them. Well, I take it back. We're seeing it a little bit again, and they just have to be happy about they're currently sitting there at the huge gold lead they still are.
Just over-forcing a touch. And I know your champions are pretty good with that. You've got the options to brawl, to just scrap with things like the Nara and the Volley Bear and the Silas, but you've got to be careful not to do this too much, because if it allows MNM to stall, and Mishigu keeps getting these kills, and you do get to a couple items on the Wukong and on the Karma to support Mishigu, who's getting very close to 3 items now, just had the Muramana transform as well, suddenly that win condition becomes a touch more viable.
Things are coming through. They're looking for Venser when he's stepping up here, but still not too much to do about it. And now we're back into the situation where the side lanes are being enabled from Dusty. This time around, though, they don't have the teleports because they were all expended in the former fight. They're going to be crashing around, seeing if they can get some vision control of the Baron area, and essentially that is the win condition for Dusty as well. It's finding that time where you can bait out MNM and take that all 5 versus 5 fight. It starts from the get-go.
And the thing with MNM is they do have a comp that can be opportunistic with picks. Karma speeds up, and suddenly you can have a Kai'Sa follow-up from 2 screens away. She has got that rank 2 of the killer instinct, so she can follow up from a long way. But Dusty have said, enough of these kind of slightly messy plays. We'll start the Baron and call you to us. Burn those teleports, we dare you.
Mechanize out here. Might time out there, get face check for the W there, so now they have the vision. The members are compiling in. Royal Canning is late. The TP will have to be expanded.
That's now Dusty pulling off. They'll take the trade of TP, but what can MNM do at the end of it? Speed up on Babista, not quite enough to get him in range for a Cyclone. The depth charge pops to dissuade and stop his engage. They'll get the teleport, though, and call that a win.
Yeah, that's a fair play. As you said, they get the teleports, and that's really all they need. Can reset around the mid lane. MNM, they're trying to stick around, trying to see if they can finally pick a turret down. Viking's going to be face checking.
Oh, and that'll be the killer instinct. Takes so much damage from that killer instinct. Has got to pop the ultimate, but won't quite fall. Not quite enough damage. Aelif is rooted in place, but now the turnaround can start coming through. The abscond, the abduct is going down. It's a rampage for Backlund, but what about the rest of the fight? Can they keep killing?
He's going to be Mega.
1 kill. Look at the damage to the back end. Is still going to be Canada going down. In comes the Mega Nard. Crunch onto Dr. Chaos, trying to buy space at the top end of your screen. In is Backlund, but it's a shutdown. The Acathian Rain eviscerates him. He's peppered full of holes, and Mishigu at 8-2 and 3 is still a win condition from back of this fight. He's going to retreat out, not give over much more of a kill, as Babista has to flash away as best he can. Voidseeker misses. Babista trying to play out. Can he get onto Venser? Can he trade out anything at all here? Surely he falls. And in the end, it's still a 4 for 3. But another close fight. And MNM, they're clawing some of these back.
Yeah, just a little bit, but it's still very much Dusty favored, and I can't help but feeling like MNM only got a little bit more of that fight because they tried to be greedy with their ultimate. Aelif definitely saw the 2-man Mechana as well that Backlund dived in for. Unfortunately, he was stunned up, not able to follow. Viking gets a little bit of a face cheer. He's forced to ult immediately, and you still see the burst damage that you talk about as well, Initialize, but they're still too far ahead, they're still so tanky, so when the fight finally breaks out in a chokehold like this, it's just very difficult for MNM to operate it. There's so much AoE damage as well. Wins is having a field day, and here when the Mechana finally comes out, that's where they start to chase for the backline. You can see Aelif doesn't care about Dr. Chaos. He wants to flash in together with Backlund, but he gets caught by the center blade. Because of this, Michigu's able to take down the shutdown. He's able to get out of there. But still
gold.
Very much a Dusty favored fight.
The Voidseeker to clean up Viking, who thought he got out. The kill with the Acathian Rain onto Backlund, who took that single target Q from Kai'Sa, has got Mishigu to a very scary point. 3.5 items now onto the Kai'Sa, who is honestly a legitimately scary threat. Yes, the gold is strong, but honestly, because MNM got the 2 early Drakes, there's not a soul point they're fighting against. They've managed to stall the Baron, and now at 27 minutes, the gold hasn't changed that much. It's a big lead, but you do still have to be afraid of the Kai'Sa.
Yeah, I mean, you do, but it's still Dusty, the only thing I feel like they have to be afraid of really here is making mistakes. Because if they just play it out cleanly, there really shouldn't be holds of opportunities for Mishigu to dive in there. Like, it's...
Have they?
No, you're right about that, Sam. You really are. And you know, that probably is my main point as well, that Dusty have not been playing this one clean towards the end game. Like, it could have definitely looked way better, but they're still feeling themselves, and that is the Dusty style. No matter how it looks like, they want to be aggressive. They'd rather go down fighting than just close it out and feel like they can just choke their opponents out.
Gloves are off into the ring, and they've certainly been throwing a few punches, but taking a few back as well. And unfortunately, the person that's been landing them the most is still, of course, that Kaiser. I keep bringing it up because that is still MNM's lone hope.
And that's great, but I mean, they'll have to find it around the Baron area.
Yeah.
Dusty, they're looking scary. 3 items on Venser now, and I think they're just going to be fancying a fight. Canna, he's spotted out on Vision.
It's a bit. Can they do anything to the Jin Zhao? Flashes away. The Crescent Guard's about to pop, and I think he's just dead. And with the jungler down, finally, without a trade, they can start roaming over to Baron, where there will be no smite available into the backside. Alif got there, but Mishigu still alive. Golden with the stopwatch. He goes. Dr. Chaos has got a shield, but it's not enough. And Dusty have finally found a fight where they haven't been traded back on. That was what they've been looking for the last 10 minutes. Double kill to Zeri, and that might even be game. They'll just go take the Baron, and this game is all but lights out from that.
Yeah, this is why it's so difficult with Mishigu, because had this been a normal where there's a hyper carry in the background you need to take out, maybe the Kaiser pick can be very good. But into the composition of Dusty, they want you to dive into them. Like, I can pile you up against a wall with Alif, if I can stun you with Volibear, if I get to melee you on the on the Silas as well, then you're happy. And because of this, Mishigu can never dive in. Yes, he's fed, but he's still not allowed to play the game.
Saw the trades there as well with the Titanic Hydra in infantry for Venser right now. He's trading onto Mishigu through the whole damn wave. Turret goes down. It's a Baron power play, and the Baron doesn't even need to be used to secure that top lane inhibitor turret. And gold, now 12,000 gold. Stacks back on the Medjai's 4 items for Venser's Zeri. There was some moments where you could see some scrappy underdog fights for MNM, but I think it might just be all out there now.
Yeah, now you have the tools, right? You get the Volibear ultimate, you get to take down the turrets, Backlund level 16 as well, can steal away the solar flares, can go for Canna's ultimate if he wants to stay a little more immune to a lot of the damage that could come through from Mishigu. And yeah, we're just looking at the last 2 pushes. Dusty, they're going to be playing down on 2 lanes, Venser stacking on a mid wave, Backlund coming in from the bot side. And it feels like it's just a matter of time before Dusty is going to be able to close this one out.
Now, can they do it cleanly? The mid game was not.
That's a good question.
They finally found the fight they were looking for in the mid game, but I have to say there has been a few slip-ups, and if you keep doing that, things might not end the way you want them to. But now, with the whole of MNM on Vision, with the Baron in inventory, they can continue to shove through. 2 inhibitors now exposed, and they'll move in to try and secure the mid lane inhibitor itself.
Mid lane inhibitor will get taken down, but Backlund comes in with the dive now with the bot lane waves. And just like that, the rest of Dusty can collapse on it as well. Should be able to take care of this inhibitor turret. And MNM, time is running out. You need to go for that Hail Mary play soon, or your Nexus is just going to get taken down. Resets can come through from Dusty now as well. They don't have to look for it now. They can be patient about it.
Fat Lady is warming up her vocal cords, but MNM will be hoping it's Ave Maria. That Hail Mary will need to come through, as you said. They need to look for something. Where? How? You can't go for a straight front to back. We've been over that. You've got to find the wombo combo dive, kill off some very important people. Backlund, Venser need to die, but with the tankiness of this front to back, now that it's all in Vision, there's no split up fights, no ways to keep dancing around as much as you have been around in the jungle fights. Solar Flare throws so much damage, not quite enough. That'll still be Dr. Chaos rammed into his own and broken inhibitor, but the turnaround starting to come through. It's a DC Cyclone, but Babista trades his whole health bar for it. Into the backline goes Mishigu, but he can't quite get any kills, and he finally falls. He's dead for the first time in forever. A quadra to Venser to end it all out. And Dusty secure 4th in the regular season.
Easy peasy for Dusty. As soon as the mid game got rolling for them, yes, we saw a few mistakes, but once again, the composition of MNM, it's just so hard to play if you don't get ahead of the clock there. You have a dive. And I mean, Alif and Dinar shot down the Wukong beautifully. Backlund finding that solo kill on Royal Cannon, who's just crashing a wave. Brilliant. I mean, only point of attack was really the bot lane for MNM, but even then, Venser with good presence of mind snips out Canna so many times where they don't really fall for too many plays. And MNM, they're just not able to find another agency in the early game.
Alas, that will mean an 11th loss for MNM the last time we see them, but at least we saw some proactivity from them. Dusty, great win to secure themselves 4th in this split. We're going to cut to a quick break, and when we come back, Archron will be here to give us some interviews, so don't go anywhere. We've got a lot more games to come.
Welcome back to the NLC after the victory by Dusty versus MNM. It was a solid and stellar victory. Again, Viking taking the early game, getting the lead to the lanes, and then eventually use that to even destroy the Kai'Sa. There was kind of fed at the beginning of the game. MNM had some small windows to work with, but it was just not enough versus this team who's trying to lock in the 4th place. Now, without further ado, I'd like to talk with Zen from Dusty to understand a little bit more about this early game and then jump into playoff summary. Okay, welcome back.
Hello, hello.
Hello, I got you back. Okay, so I would like to look into the champion Zeri because she's getting a little bit more breathing room nowadays in Champion Select. How can you manage Zeri? Because a lot of teams tries to focus down the Zeri at the early game. How do you tell the players to deal with that?
Well, Zeri is just broken at the moment. No matter which way you put it, the champion is not balanced. I think that there are certain matchups you can take into it, but honestly, even if you have a good matchup, as soon as the champion hits mid game, if it's not shut down in the early laning phase, it just takes over the game really, really quickly. You have one bad team fight, one bad skirmish, it picks up 1 or 2 kills, and then honestly, it is very quickly just over. So I think this champion is more or less pick and ban. If you're leaving it open, you have to have a really good strategy prepared, and even then, honestly, you're more likely to lose than not. So yeah.
It showed because at the end of the game, it was Zeri fighting off versus a Kai'Sa who had a lot of kills, but it was just not enough. And Zeri didn't even use the exhaust, so that goes to show what you can do with Zeri in the late game. Now, looking into Dusty, late game. You guys finished the split. You did all you could do for that 4th place. How do you feel about the performance of the team at the end of the split?
Well, it was definitely a bit of a ramp up from the start of the split. I felt like a couple of the games we lost in the early start of the split, we could have won if we played a little bit better. We still have some shaky areas. Our mid game still needs to be just a tiny little bit faster, I think. Once we shore up a couple of those weaknesses, I feel like we have very strong individual players. I feel like these players are very good both on the map and in laning phase when we have a good day, especially then. But even then, I think that we have, so to speak, scaled into late game as the playoffs will progress. Hopefully, we scaled even further, and I do think that best of fives will be very good for us.
Okay, and that is another question that I have. Usually in scrims, I know you don't play a single game. Usually it's like an entire afternoon or the night with teams and all that. Do you think the team is ready for the best of 5? And most importantly, are you ready as a coach for the best of 5?
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Best of fives are honestly my favorite part of the game. I think that in best of fives as well, it's not just, obviously the gameplay itself is the most important part. Draft is really important as well. But on the third aspect, as I said in the last interview, right, the mental aspect is also quite important. And in the best of five, there's so much strength, right? How players communicate in between games, how they encourage each other. For example, if you're 2-0 up, you can easily throw the third game, right? If you're 0-2 down, you can easily make a comeback. Your opponents might be a little bit overconfident. So some players really shine in those best of 5 series that maybe spectators don't get to see. But behind the scenes, there's all kinds of different players, all kinds of different personalities, and they can all sort of develop a little bit in a best of 5 more so than they can a best of 1 where you play for 45 minutes and then it's over.
I agree with that so much. The idea that out of a few players that prefer the best of 5 to the best of 1 to show themselves and show the champion pool, the way they can adapt, and when you can read the opponent, especially Viking, in my opinion. That is a player that, in my opinion, will have a lot of fun in best of 5s because he gets to read the enemy jungler and probably take it down. Last question, really fast. Can you tell me what would be the team that you would prefer to play first in playoffs?
My personal wish is that we play everyone. Obviously, that will not be possible. But we're all looking forward to eventually facing Excel and eventually facing X7. But ultimately, to us, we would be happy to face anyone. But really, we want to aim for the top spot. So the faster we face them, the happier we will be.
Thank you so much, Zen, for another interview. Good job on the entire split. It seemed like Dusty really skyrocketed in terms of performance, and that obviously has something to do with you as a coach. And thank you so much for this one.
Oh, it's all my players. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And there you go. Dusty are ready to go into playoffs. They want to face everybody. Obviously, they want to go versus X7, XL. Those are the two teams that every single team wants to defeat. It's not even about playing and having like the feeling of playing versus X7 or XL. It's mostly about just kicking them. That's exactly what they want to do. They want to face them just to defeat them. Now, looking into the other time, this is MNM. This is Michigo I have with me for the last interview of the split so far.
I am back.
You're welcome. I got you back, man. I got you back. Okay. I was feeling sad, but I got you. Okay. Looking into this game, tell me, how do you feel playing a Kai'Sa and everybody playing for you when you knew that you had to defeat the Zeri late game?
It was fun. Yeah. Nice change of pace, I got to be played around for once. So it's the last game, and I was like, I want to play Kai'Sa, it's fine, and I got to play Kai'Sa, so yeah.
So that was your pick. That was you deciding playing the Kai'Sa.
Yeah, I wanted to play
love it. How do you feel the matchup versus the Zeri goes between the Kai'Sa and the Zeri?
Generally, I think it's a lot easier if I have the Nautilus on my side, obviously, but Chaos is kind of tired of playing that champ, so I just have to take the Leona, But I think if you can lock her down, Kai'Sa is one of the few champs that can instantly follow up and one-shot her. But yeah, I haven't really played the matchup that much since Zeri's permabanned in solo queue, sadly.
Okay.
So I will have to look into it further.
Now, if we can have a summary of the entire split for MNM and you as a player, can you give me a feedback or you think what happened and how can you guys move forward? Or if you prefer, how can you move forward and for your future?
Well, yeah, I mean, first week, kind of rough. But then we started winning. Everything was happiness, flowers, and sunshine, you know. And then something went a bit wrong, and we lost 11 games in a row. But at least nobody beats MNM 12 times in a row, you know. And yeah, for anyone wondering, yeah, I'm free agent, you know. I played pretty well last few games, you know. Hopefully it goes well for me going into the future, but you never know. It's esports, it's a hard scene, you know, so I will have to go forward and hope for the best.
I mean, it has to be for the best. It has to be for the best. This is, just as you told me, you played really well for the last 2 games, but it's not only about those 2 games. So it's not only 2 games. It's way more than that.
Yeah.
Just to wrap it up really fast for the last interview, I know you wanted to be an astronaut. What happened?
Well, it is easier to play computer games, and it's more fun than studying. So it kind of, you know, you start playing solo queue. Where I started playing League when I was like 8. So, you know, I just started playing League a lot, and then some priorities came over school, and then I became high elo instead. So,
okay. Who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe you can reach the stars inside of the game. I mean,
yeah, that's true. That's true.
So who knows? Thank you so much for this interview. Thank you so much for this entire
No,
split.
it's for last
For
time.
you, got everyone at home. I don't care who you are. He's free agent.
Holy, I am.
Talk with him. So thank you so much, Michigo.
Have a good one, bro.
It was a pleasure, man. I'll see you soon.
Yeah.
There you go. Last word from Michigo. This split, who knows what's going to happen? He's a free agent now, and reach him out. He's a good player. And now, it's not only about the players, it's about the teams. Today is a really interesting day, so don't go anywhere before the second game of the day. I'll see you soon after this break.